Good evening. Welcome, everyone. We'll call the meeting to order. This is the February 23rd, 2017 meeting of the Marion City Council. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Roll call, please.
Mr. Draper.
Here.
Ms. Hetzel.
Present.
Mr. Spinks.
Present.
Mayor Abalosely.
Here.
Mr. Brandt.
Here.
Mr. Nicholson.
Here.
Ms. Pazur.
Here.
Thank you. At this time, we have our moment of silence. Thank you. Thank you. Just one housekeeping item before we move on. We're trying something new. I know we have several public hearings, and anyone who wants to address the council on anything, you're asked to come forward and say your name and your address, but we're trying something new right now. We're going to have you stop and see Leanne over there and fill out a card, actually, because I think we're having a hard time getting down the name and address of the people who are speaking. So we'll try this and see how it works. So thanks for your cooperation. Tonight we have induction or oath of office for 3 new firefighters for the city of Marion. So it's a special evening. I know we have a lot of people here to witness that. So please come on forward. State your name. Okay. Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, and then state your name.
I, Jason Wagner.
Try it again.
I, John Gillis.
Jason Wagner. Okay. As a firefighter paramedic of Marion, Iowa.
As a firefighter paramedic of the city of Marion.
Swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States.
Swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States.
The Constitution of the State of Iowa.
The Constitution of the State of Iowa.
And the ordinances of the City of Marion, Iowa.
The ordinances of the City of Marion, Iowa.
I will serve the City of Marion and its fire department.
I will serve the City of Marion and its fire department.
To the best of my ability.
To the best of my ability.
With honor and respect.
With honor and respect.
And in adherence to the ethics of the fire service.
And adhere to the ethics of the fire service.
These things I solemnly and freely swear upon my honor.
These things I
solemnly and freely swear upon my honor. Congratulations. If there's any family members or people who would like to take photos of them, you're welcome to come up and do that.
Look at mommy. Hey, Luce. Luce. Oop. Here.
Future firefighter right there.
Yeah.
Oh, another baby.
Here, I'll take her back.
Fire Station 4 candidates.
For those who didn't get their names, it's John Gillen, Nick Thompson, and Jason Wagner. I apologize, I forgot to mention the names before I went down there. Congratulations to all of them. Okay, at this time we have citizen presentations. Is anyone here to address the council? Sir, come on forward, and maybe when you're finished, fill that out, but go ahead and state your name and address at the microphone, and then fill that out when you're finished. Thank you.
Well, good evening, Mayor and City Council.
Good evening, welcome.
I'm Phil Legate, Phillegate. I reside at 26 and 95 Pebble Creek Drive. And first of all, I want to say congratulations to our new firemen. And I know they do one awesome job. So I know you already have a letter from concerned neighbors along our street and perpendicular to our street regarding the erosion that is occurring behind our house. Our houses, about 6 or 7 to 8 neighbors are affected by this continuing erosion from the culvert at Pebble Creek Drive and Edgebrook Lane or Edgebrook Road. So since you already have the documents and the pictures, for brevity, I'll just state our main concerns. And that is, number one, this erosion continues further down the creek, Pebble Creek, or the drainage area. And the erosion is continuing to the point where the standpipes and some of the other pipes underneath the ground are tunneling. So there's huge tunnels underneath the soil that overlays the other areas further down. And large depressions are forming. And in addition, we have breakup of what appears to be the foundation at the culvert. And so erosion essentially started near the culvert quite a few years ago and is continuing down to the point that we have actually eroded tunnels, we have eroded soil, and it's making it very difficult to not only keep the area clean, but to mow and trim it. And we can't let our kids or grandkids down there because of the huge holes and other obstacles and trash that washes into the area. So erosion now continues about 30 yards past the current culvert. We have observed that some of the past efforts to slow down the erosion has not stopped the erosion, essentially. So what we're asking the mayor and the council to do is to look into this to see if there's some way to mitigate this further erosion, because we believe that in the future it will reduce property values and create further hazards back there, so that it's not safe for children or grandchildren, anybody else to be back there walking, trimming, and or mowing. And of course we try to keep our neighborhood clean and trimmed, and this erosion is preventing a lot of that from happening. So basically that's what we're asking the City Council to do, is to further investigate this and try to find a way to finally mitigate the very bad erosion that is occurring. We've also noticed that at the end of Brockman Street, apparently the city has lined the waterway down there and has stopped most of the erosion. I believe that's still in the domains of the Marion boundary. So something like that might help. I'm not a civil engineer, but I've seen that at the end of the Brockman waterway there, that has helped considerably. So I also have some additional pictures here, if I may approach the City Council to distribute them.
Well, you can put them on the, right there on the,
Oh.
there you go. Projector there.
Oh, yes, very good, thank you.
Okay.
This is the flow when we have a moderate rainfall, let's say, about 1/4 of an inch to 1/2 an inch. You can imagine the increased amount of volume of water when the big rains come, okay? So, and of course it sounds like Niagara Falls when 1 to 4 inches of rainfall occur. This is some of the erosion that has occurred. You can see that some of the concrete footing or lining or base has already broken apart and has washed downstream toward the west, further toward the ponding area, down toward Indian Creek Road. So this erosion continues. You will see a standpipe or I'm not sure what it is called. I called it a standpipe. But when it's covered with leaves and stuff, of course, the water does not run into it. It runs further down the creek and causes further erosion. And again, this erosion has been continuing now, and it's getting more and more dire as we through the years. This is a picture of one of the standpipes further toward the west, or looking toward the east, taken from the west. And near the standpipe, there is our overflow grate here. There's actually a tunnel occurring that appears to be 2 to 3 feet past this standpipe. So the bottom line is the volume of water running through here and past these standpipes or grates is causing tunneling and further erosion downstream. So if I can answer any questions, I'd be glad to.
Questions?
No, I just noticed, Mayor, at item number 18 on the consent agenda, and I would hope that maybe at our next meeting we could have some lead-in of what a solution might be, so we know in the next couple weeks.
So by submitting the letter to the city council, we will receive it and file it today as part of our agenda, which will then trigger staff review of it to look at the issue and come back to us with a recommendation.
Okay, thank you very much for your efforts.
Thanks for your time.
Can I ask you one question, though?
Yeah, sure.
Where the erosion occurred, is that close to Indian Creek, or is that down by, let's see, what is that?
That's the culvert that runs underneath Edgebrook.
Edgebrook, okay.
Uh-huh. Further east of Edgebrook, there's a higher elevation of soil.
Right.
And all of the housing to the east, that surface water runs off, runs through this culvert,
Okay.
and it's that volume of water that is causing further erosion
All right.
toward the west.
Okay, I was just trying to get calibrated from your picture. I'm looking at an aerial map of it here.
Uh-huh.
And I just wanted to get calibrated on where you were speaking of there.
Sure, sure. And the creek runs behind basically Pebble Creek Drive,
Right.
and the creek runs further down to a ponding area near Indian Creek Road, where it ponds, and when it overflows there, it runs underneath Indian Creek Road and finally ends up in Indian Creek.
And then the question I had on the picture where you were showing all the water, was that what kind of rainfall was that? Was that a heavy rain or?
That was a mild rainfall. That was about 1/4 of an inch rain.
Okay.
And of course, due to the delay of runoff, what you usually will see is we will have a rain, and then you'll hear the Niagara Falls occurring,
Okay.
more or less, and then you'll hear of course, the noise, and then the rain come through.
Okay.
Snow melt also presents a problem. We can have zero rainfall, but once the snow melts, we'll have situations just like that.
Okay.
So
So,
this may seem like a simplistic question, but what's the actual impact on your property, on the property owner's property? I mean, is the erosion occurring on your property?
the erosion is occurring behind my property
Behind
and
your property.
actually 4, 5 other residents. It is occurring behind the Roseberry property, and it is occurring alongside Emmanuel's property on Edgebrook, and it is occurring behind 3 properties on Pebble Creek Drive at this time.
Is it actually affecting your property? I mean, if it's behind your property or it's on your property?
It's behind our property, such that we can't let children or grandchildren go down there and play.
Okay.
We try to keep them out of the
I'm
ditch.
trying to get a feel for what the actual impact is.
Yeah, the actual impact is increased erosion, and we believe that this increased erosion will finally erode up to the sides of our property, because I believe we're responsible for mowing and taking care of at least half of the waterway and the bank that runs into that, or the bank that abuts the creek. So we feel that if this erosion continues, well, we're going to have some serious landscaping problems.
Okay. Any other questions? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks.
Hello, Mike Peterson, 3460 27th Avenue, Marion, Iowa.
Welcome.
I come here with 2 purposes tonight. One, to make apology or amend Councilman Draper. He neither asked for this nor required it, but I'm not going to debate or get into what was said or exactly how it was said, because it simply distracts from the policy communication I was attempting to point out. Having said that, because Councilman Draper's name was mentioned in the discussion as one of many examples of an incident or incidents, which he publicly admitted to Tuesday, in fact, of where action was directly taken to advocate for a change in action, he felt his character was besmirched. That is neither true nor was it the intent of what I said. In fact, if he had done what he felt accused of, and if he or any other member of the council believed it was the right choice for Marion and the right value decision, there would be nothing illegal, unethical, or immoral about it, as long as they weren't trying to find some advantage, for themselves. So I'm sorry that it was perceived and conflated that all actions I discussed were about Councilman Draper, because it completely distracts and obscures from the actual important discussion that Councilman Draper and others of the council and in Marion government have been having with me since November. Councilman Draper has acted with integrity and good character in all discussions I've had with him, even when we disagree. I hope that puts that part of the discussion to bed for anybody who heard about that. All I would ask is that if you wonder what I have an opinion on or what I'm trying to say, please clarify it, because as you may have noticed, I have no problem telling you exactly how I feel or what my opinion is about things. So to move on to the actual point argument I was trying to get across, which actually speaks to something that Lon brought up on Tuesday. And since he told me that this is under discussion and development, I wanted to make sure that I got this part into it. When you set goal, policy, incentive, and plan direction for the city, this has consequences. There are results that come from that, and not all of them are immediately apparent. To give you examples of what I'm talking about, the plan on the city website, just seeing the map, this will affect people and their decisions and what they do. Okay? Public policy speeches like the mayor did the other day at the Marriott, and where he discusses things like 50% commercial, 50% residential tax base. When you have a public policy goal of getting to a 50-50 ratio, that affects decision making throughout the city. Okay? When you have speeches or discussions, as in Saturday mornings with office hours, those end up having consequences down the road. Okay? The residential survey of citizens about what to do with the downtown area, and then putting tip, I'm not sure which ones it are, but I believe there's tip, TIF, and abatement as far as advantages that the council or grants, I guess would be the other category, towards certain activities. Okay? The roundabout development. Okay? And as much as Mary Lou and I don't like roundabouts, the reality is I've done research on this, is that less people die. So at a certain point or get hurt or harmed, and I'm going to grumble about it, and including my feeling about roads, that's just a value decision you make. Okay? So the Tower Terrace development, the routing of traffic off of Indian Creek Road in the long-term plan. These are all value decisions that you guys make just throughout the year, and you advocate. The actions resulting from these decisions are developers. They look at business opportunities. There's nothing wrong with this, but if there's opportunities in certain directions, they take action to try to take advantage of those opportunities, okay, based on your public policy that you set. City employees actually are paid to do some things that some citizens of Marion may not like. And what's obvious from what's been going on with the mayor's speech the other day, they're actually doing a pretty good job of getting to the goals that you're trying to get to, okay? They're actually achieving what you're directing them to do, okay? But this has consequences, okay? They're doing exactly what they're paid to do. New landlords buy existing properties. They change the rental rates. Lease payments change. Higher sales tax revenue and property tax revenue businesses will be recruited because of what you're doing. Okay? These are consequences of the public policy discussions you're having. Lease tenants will be directed to some properties over other properties because of the public policy you set. You will advantage certain landlords over other landlords. Okay? Real estate agents look for opportunities in these markets. Okay? And they try to find ways to create transactions in many circumstances. Some of the consequences that result from that are restaurants have closed because of new retail rates, and retail establishments have, okay? Because their business plans don't match the new landscape that you're creating. Multiple businesses in general will close because 80 to 90% of all businesses are cash flow based. We can talk about all day how everybody should have a savings, but study after study says America as a whole aren't great savers. They just don't have the backup money. So when you make that, if you require people to move, and I've seen the council do in certain circumstances, help for people who have to move. And that's why I'm talking about this. It seems there's weight towards certain situations and not enough weight towards these type of cascading situations. Businesses have to close and reopen in new buildings. Real estate agents, as they go about trying to find these transactions, create rumors that have already caused staffing issues and recruitment issues at a business in the Uptown Marion market. Okay? That isn't my business, but I know these people. And if you haven't figured it out, I have affinity to all people who will sit there and work 6-7 days a week to try to get a business going and keep it going. Okay? This is not an easy thing to do. Business who already have intentions of moving are forced to accelerate plans or change long-term plans, and this would be me on this one, to their disadvantage, because the opportunity they wanted to pursue cannot be pursued. These are all consequences. What you decide, advocate, promote, talk about, okay, has real-world consequences for real people, and not all of them are good. And what's irritated me through this whole process, and I spoke to the library board about it, was that you make value judgments. And the value judgments based on the library, I explained to them, they make choices. These may be the right choices for Marion. That is not my point. I am not speaking against the library by this point. If you feel these decisions are the right choices for Marion, then you need to pursue those. But you also must recognize the downside of your decisions. Okay? And you can't just say it's a private transaction. If you have a public policy that advances one interest over another, you have affected that business. I'm here to advocate for the plan Lon mentioned to help compensate businesses that are required to move because of plans the city has for a new Marion. Recognizing that the council's decisions actually do both positively and negatively affect the lives of its citizens, stakeholders, and businesses. We, as part of the human condition, we tell ourselves lies all the time, wanting to only feel good about what we do. It is extremely important for leaders to not only recognize the good, but the harm that results from the choices they make. So I'm asking you in the future to be honest in your words, actions, and results, to be honest with yourselves and the people of Marion. So when you proclaim what's happening, make sure that you have a plan for the downside. And that's all I got on it. Thanks.
Thank you.
Hey, Mike,
Anyone else?
can we get a copy of that? Do you mind?
It's kind of an outline, but yeah.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Did you?
May I clarify one thing? I don't really hate roundabouts, Mike. It's just that I object to the property values that they eliminate. And unless they put in toll booths, I'll still hate them.
I understand.
Okay.
Our reasoning may be different.
Thank you. Thank you. Go ahead.
Thank you. My name is Charlie Knutson. I live at 2835 24th Avenue, Marion, Iowa. I am here to make a presentation regarding the proposed new Marion City Library. In the recent February 22nd Gazette article, it stated that a proposal was presented by Marion City Manager to the Marion City Council regarding the proposed new city library. This proposal, using taxpayer money one way or another, includes $5.04 million lost funds, $2.5 million from potential sale of existing library, $2.5 million TIF money, along with $2 million from a fundraiser to be run by the Marion Public Library Foundation. This totals $12.54 million. This article also states the Library Foundation plans to apply for a $10 million bond to buy the library from the private builder. This seems to be a lot of taxpayer funding and financing without any vote by the citizens. So how does all of this add up? Is the proposed new library really costing the city and Library Foundation together over $22.5 million? I'm trying to understand the article and what was in the paper. I am requesting and would appreciate a full disclosure of what the total cost to the citizens of Marion, Iowa would or will be for this proposed new library. I would also like to know if there will or will not actually be an opportunity for the citizens of Marion to weigh in on this issue via a citizens' vote. I respectfully request that the council take the time to fully understand the proposed costs associated with this proposed new library and fully disclose and explain those costs to the citizens of Marion, Iowa before taking any council vote to move this proposal forward. I would also request that the citizens of Marion be allowed to voice their approval or disapproval of this project if it is deemed worthy by the council via a citizens' vote. Later in tonight's meeting, this council is going to vote on resolution number 25851, expressing support for the Marion Public Library project and directing staff to proceed with retaining legal and financial counsel regarding financing for the Marion Public Library. Are you really ready to do this? Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to share my views with the members of this council.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Want me to clarify some of those?
Please.
Okay. Yeah, the way the Gazette article reads, it does, if you read through it and just looked at it that way, it would look like they're doubling up on the funds. But the $10 million is the amount that the Library Foundation is eligible to borrow on what's called a bank qualified note, where they can get the absolute best interest rates on that. The price of the library right now is projected to be $12.195 million. The amounts that the city would be contributing through local option sales tax, what would then will be coming through the foundation for the capital campaign, all of those pieces go against that $12.195 million. So the only part of it that would be financed would be whatever the foundation would need to do for the pledge loan, assuming that some of those pledges will be based over a period of years, and the length of time that the local option sales tax would be coming in. So when you look at the numbers for it adding up to 12.5 million, there's an interest rate factor built in there for the amount that would be anticipated that the Library Foundation would actually have to borrow for. So that's why the 12.195 and the amount of the financing sources that I listed out are not an exact match. But the cost of the library would be $12.195 million at this time.
Okay, not 22.
Right.
And the
On to that, how do you're going to have 12.54, but there's going to be an initial $10 million bond, right?
Not with the city. And it wouldn't be with the library.
Who pays that off? The $10 million bond, where do they come up with the bond from?
The Library Foundation, as a 501c3, is eligible to go out and secure nonprofit financing.
Well, as a citizen of Marion, and that's what is my association with the Marion Library? Who owns the city library?
The Library Foundation would own the building, and they would have a long-term lease with the Marion Public Library, with the city of Marion to lease it, and then at the end we would own it.
And where would that $10 million? Where would they generate that $10 million to pay off that bond?
The lease payments with the city, with the local option sales tax.
The city will pay for the lease, so the city pays for it.
With the funding that's already dedicated, yes.
That $10 million is figured into the 12.54.
Yeah.
yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I need to better understand that.
Yeah, I'll be glad to go through it with you.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Your Honor, I have a question about this. If the retail and the apartments do not provide enough money to pay this bond off, which the Library Foundation is applying for, what is the city's obligation to pay off the debt?
Maybe
Not actually a city bond. When you do a conduit bond like this, it is the responsibility of the nonprofit to do that. Now, they will look at the income potential of that nonprofit, which would be determined by the success of the pledge drive, the backing with the lease with the city using the local option sales tax dollars, but then the final purchase price would be based on whether or not the city participates in the cost of helping to buy down the cost of that parking. Essentially, what Ryan Companies would like is for us to help fund that cost differential between doing surface level parking and the underground parking for the residential units. That would get credited towards the cost of the library. That's how it gets down to the point that it's feasible. We do already have some local option sales tax in the bank that we've been accumulating now for a couple of years, so they wouldn't be coming out of the gate with a $10 million loan right away. But this is why we need to retain the finance and legal counsel to make sure all of these pieces fit together the way that they're projected to, so that the project can proceed.
maybe this conversation can be, or these questions can be delayed until we get to the agenda item on this
Okay,
on this
that's fine.
topic, because right now we're in public comment section, so I don't mean to interrupt, but
No, that's fine.
just in the interest of keeping with our agenda, we can come back to that and address it at the appropriate time on the agenda. Is that okay, Lon?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Anyone else to address the council on any topic? Welcome. Please state your name and your address, and then please fill out this card when you're finished. over here.
Eve Ramsey, 640 Bentley Drive, number 32. I'm at Azure Apartments.
And a number of the tenants there and I are wondering if we could get a cover for the bus stop on Boyson Road that's right across from the Ozora Apartments. A lot of people use that bus stop and there's no protection there. Thank you, that's it.
Okay. So if you can put that request in writing and submit it to the city, we would receive and file it and have the staff.
Does it need to be a
Look into
number of people or can it just be one
It can
person?
be from you.
Okay,
It can be just from you.
great, thank you.
Yeah. Anyone else to address the council? Okay. Move on with the rest of the agenda. Mr. Nicholson?
Your Honor, I would like to recommend approval of the consent calendar, items number 1 through 20. That includes resolution number 25831 through resolution number 25842.
Second?
It has been moved and seconded to approve the consent calendar as presented, items 1 through 20, and resolutions numbers 25837 through 25842. Any discussion?
31. 25831.
Oh, 25831? Oh, yes.
I have a question on number.
Go ahead.
On number 18, talking about the drainage, has the engineering or public works, have you guys seen any of this, or?
Yeah, we did. As soon as we got the receive and file on the agenda, we went out there earlier this week and last week, and the section of the concrete that broke up, we got those. And then we walked the drainage way and did notice there was some erosion through there. Our short-term plan was to get some equipment down there as soon as it dries up. It's pretty wet down there, very wet. And so we were going to level some of that stuff out. But in terms of our capabilities, that's about as far as we can go. It's just to get it cleaned up and get some of the washouts filled.
Okay. I know on a previous one over on 44th Street, there was cane built up and all that in the drive, and they went and cut a channel through the middle. Was there any plantings done in that when it was built?
No, excuse me. No, when this was developed, this has been going on since the development occurred, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago or so.
Mm-hmm.
At the time of the development, we tried to encourage the developer to extend that storm sewer to the west property line, and they basically refused to do that. That was accepted, of course, at the time, and we've been dealing with it since. Since then, we have strongly encouraged situations not like this and are dealing with that. This is a difficult place to deal with, as Ryan has done year after year after year, because of the way it lays out, we can't really extend the storm sewer now because of the building there now. And it's a residential lawn, so it's difficult for us to really do anything. The grass that is put in there that's mowed regularly washes out when we get a turbulent rain. So.
Yeah. So like the cane or anything like that, that's.
I think they want a mowed situation, so I'm not sure that a basin or a bioswale or something there would probably not work.
That ought to be something maybe to ask them to see if that would, because that would certainly stop the speed of the water going through there. So that would be something to think about. Have a planting of plants that.
But you'll be looking at this and seeing if anything can be done. Coming
We
back
have
to
several times over the last 10 years, but we can sure do it again.
Okay.
They said something about down at the end of Brockman.
Yeah.
On the other side of 10th, I'm assuming.
Yeah, that's been there for, I don't know, probably 30 years, I would guess, that paved.
That paving.
West of, it's the end of Indian Creek Road, actually, west of there, in between there and Brockman, west of 10th, there's a paved drainage way down through there.
Is that something that could be done there?
We can. Once again, I'm not sure that's what they want, but we can look at it.
Sure.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ryan, Dan. Appreciate it.
Other discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. The motion passes.
Your Honor, I move to approve the consent calendar with you abstaining from voting and discussion regarding the following items. A motion to receive and file request for tax increment financing, a motion to approve project calendar, and resolutions 25843 and 25844.
Second?
It has been moved and seconded to approve the second part of the consent calendar, items 21 and 22, including resolutions 25843 and 25844. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 All those opposed, please say no. And I'm abstaining from this. Thank you. Okay, at this time, we have a public hearing regarding the 2017 sidewalk ramp repair project. The public hearing is open. Does anyone need to say anything about this, or have we talked about it enough, or? No? Okay. Is there anyone here to speak in favor of the 2017 sidewalk ramp repair project?
Your Honor, is this the one that brings up with the ADA requirements?
Yes.
Okay, I just want to clarify that, so.
Yes. Thank you for that clarification for everybody's benefit. Anyone here to speak in favor of this? Okay, seeing none, is there anyone here to speak against the sidewalk repair project for 2017? Okay, the public hearing is now closed. Mr. Draper?
Yes, with the public hearing closed, Your Honor, I move approval of 25-845 resolution accepting bids and awarding contract to Hunt Construction Company, Inc. regarding the 2017 sidewalk ramp sidewalk program. Projected amount $79,452.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 25845, accepting the bids and awarding contract to Hunt Construction Company, Inc. for the 2017 sidewalk ramp repair project in the amount of $79,452. Discussion?
Just to repeat what we heard on Tuesday, Dan, there were 4 bids on this,
Yes, we received 4 bids.
and this was the lowest. This was
Yes.
the lowest bid.
By far, yeah.
Yeah. Just to clarify it there.
Sure.
Thank
yeah.
you.
How far then are we along with, going along with what the requirements are? Or is this the end of it?
We're actually coming next meeting with a amendment to our transition plan that will have all those statistics available for you.
Okay, and this is on the sidewalks, entry into the street and out the other side?
This is just the ramps, the amount that are complying with ADA, the ones that are not complying with ADA, and those statistics. So.
Okay. Any other discussion?
I guess I had a question on those ramps. The pad, is that replaceable? Can you replace that rubber-looking orange thing?
The raised nodes, some of them are, some of them are not. There's different types. There's stick-down kind that tend to wear off and break up, and whether that's a snow blower or something can tear those up. We have some that are actually embedded into the ramp, so that if the ramp was destroyed or removed or something, those could be reused. They are difficult to reuse, though. So.
Okay. Thanks.
Other discussion? All those in favor of resolution number 25845, please signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed, please say no. The motion passes.
Your Honor, I move to approve ordinance number 17-04, amending the Marion Code of Ordinances to rezone property located east of Highway 13 and north of Highway 151, 58001 Hennessy Parkway in Marion, Lynn County, Iowa, from C3 General Commercial to PDS Planned Developmental Special Water Rock LLC, second consideration.
Second?
Okay, so it has been moved by Councilwoman Etzel and seconded by Councilman Draper to approve ordinance number 17-04, amending the Marion Code of Ordinances to rezone the property located east of Highway 13 and north of Highway 151 from C3 General Commercial to PDS Planned Development Special. This is the second consideration. It was passed at the last meeting, and this is the second consideration. So, discussion? None? All those in favor of ordinance number 17-04, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? And please note that I have abstained from discussion and voting on this. Thank you. At this time, we have another public hearing regarding voluntary annexation of property located north of Highway 100 and adjacent to 44th Street. It's property owned by John and Deborah Hennessy, John Hennessy, Kathleen McCarty, Mary Moran, and the Iowa DOT and the City of Marion. So the public hearing is now open. I think we had a presentation on this on Tuesday. I don't know if there's anything to add. Okay. Is there anyone here to speak in favor of this voluntary annexation? Seeing that there are none, we'll move on. Is there anyone here who would like to speak against the voluntary annexation? Okay, the public hearing is now closed. Mr. Spinks?
Yes, Your Honor, I move to approve Resolution 25846, approving the annexation of properties located north of Highway 100 and adjacent to 44th Street.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 25846, approving annexation of properties located north of Highway 100 and adjacent to 44th Street. Discussion?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, if I remember the map correctly, wasn't there a portion of right-of-way that was annexed?
That was excluded.
That's correct.
Why are we annexing right-of-way when it's next to a highway?
The DOT land, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Because, well, you can go ahead and explain.
Is that, I didn't recall if that was standard procedure.
Well, whenever we annex property, we usually annex to the center line of the right-of-way. In this case, because it's Iowa Department of Transportation property, Highway 100, we wanted to go to the south side so that if there's any improvements that happen within that right-of-way, that it's under one jurisdiction. And then we got a request from the DOT to be included in it, so they're
But then
fine
who
with it.
mows it?
They still mow it. They maintain it.
They still mow it. That's not going to be turned over to Marion.
No. The maintenance and all responsibility relies on the state.
Okay.
It would be in Marion, but still under the jurisdiction and control
I
of the
just didn't
DOT.
want to.
As jurisdictional control stays with the DOT.
I just didn't want to incur any extra expense to Ryan's
Sure.
department.
Good question. Other discussion? All those in favor of resolution number 25846, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Motion passes.
Your Honor, before we move to administration, I have something I'd like to discuss in planning and development. About a year and a half ago, this council, I am being included, made a vote to extend a period of time for some required sidewalks in our community. And I've realized over a period of time, as I've watched a number of those that we extended the time for, that I didn't make a very good vote on that. And I would like to instruct or ask planning and zoning, planning and development, if maybe they could come out with a list of those extended dates and give that to us at the next meeting so we can individually review what I'm speaking of, and we can revisit that issue. We've given some of those folks a year and a half now, and nothing's happened. And I feel like promises are promises, and I'd like to revisit that if we could. Tom?
Is that something everyone, is that something everyone feels we need to do? Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. At this time, we have a public hearing regarding a proposed designation of the 2017 multi-residential urban revitalization area. The public hearing is now open. Can you just a brief synopsis of?
Yeah, this is a project that we're doing in support of a large senior housing complex. It's being built on Albernet Road, north of East Robbins Road. It's going to be a multi-service, full-service facility with independent living, assisted living, and then a more skilled care wing, all on site, being done by Scenic Development. The incentive that the city is providing is a phase-in of property taxes over a period of 10 years in recognition of some of the expenses that they've incurred with the site. There's an awful lot of dirt work and everything that's needed to make it available, but one of the side effects of them doing this project is that it opened up a considerable area around it for development as well.
Okay, is there anyone here to speak in favor of this resolution? Yes, sir. Welcome.
Hi. I'm Jordan Anderson from Scenic Development. My address is 2114 West Sheridan Street, Olathe, Kansas. I've told you guys the story of our company and how we started and what we're doing out there. As Lon briefly touched on, we'll be doing 50 independent living units, 34 assisted living units, and 40 skilled nursing units, all as a part of one community out there on Albernet Road. Just to give you guys a brief update as to how construction's going, we've been shut down for winter, as most people have been for the last couple months, but hope to start again up here in March if we don't get this blizzard we're supposed to get here this evening. We're very weather dependent at this time, but hopefully I'll be back here a couple times a month starting in March. Our marketing director has recently started. She is officing out of Farmers State Bank. So if anybody has any inquiries about living in our community, that's a great place to visit. We appreciate your city's support and all that you guys have done for us at this point. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else to speak in favor? Okay. Is there anyone here to speak against the 2017 multi-residential urban revitalization area? Okay. The public hearing is now closed.
Your Honor, I make a motion to approve resolution number 25847, adopting the proposed plan for the 2017 multi-residential urban revitalization area.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 25847, adopting the proposed plan for the 2017 multi-residential urban revitalization area. Discussion. No? Okay. All those in favor of resolution number 25847, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. The motion passes.
Your Honor, I'd like to recommend approval of ordinance number 17-05, designating an area of Marion, Iowa as a 2017 multi-residential urban revitalization area. Initial consideration.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve ordinance number 17-05, designating an area of Marion as the 2017 multi-residential urban revitalization area. Discussion. So this, go ahead.
This is the enabling ordinance that actually gives the legal standing for Lynn County to do the abatement of taxes on this property. So we'll go through the adoption process for the ordinance. I would expect that Scenic will probably put in a request to waive the third reading, and providing that we don't receive feedback by the time we bring the second one forward, we can get it done.
I want to clarify that this abatement, it's not 100% abatement, it's only...
It's 80% for the first 3 years, then goes to 70, then 60, then 50, then 40, and phases out. It's almost identical to the benefit that they would have received if we had done it through tax increment financing. We're just using a different mechanism to do it.
Okay, thank you.
Other discussion?
Is this area just for that section, or is it cover other, how large area, I guess I should ask?
It is specific to their property.
Okay, it's not anything else then?
Nope.
Okay,
The scenic development property.
Right.
Okay.
thanks.
Any discussion? Okay. All those in favor of ordinance, all those in favor of ordinance number 17-05, initial consideration, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Okay, the motion passes. At this time, we have another public hearing regarding a proposed development agreement with AIS Properties, Inc., DBA Restoration Dental. Public hearing is now open.
Just one clarification, AIS Properties actually is an LLC and not a corporation, so that was just a misprint on the agenda,
Okay.
but it doesn't change ownership or anything like that. It's still the same corporation in the same building. This is the former Irwin's building that is being renovated for dental practice. The city is going to be providing some assistance for the cost of ADA and public safety improvements and historic preservation improvements to the building.
Okay. Anyone here to speak in favor of this proposed development agreement? Okay. Anyone here to speak against the proposed development agreement? The public hearing is now closed.
Your Honor, I
Ms.
move to approve Resolution 25848, approving a development agreement with AIS LLC Properties Inc., doing business as Restoration Dental and Medco Holding Company, authorizing annual appropriation tax increment payments and pledging certain tax increment revenues to the payment of the agreement.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 25848, approving the development agreement with AIS Properties, Inc., DBA Restoration Dental, authorizing annual appropriation tax increment payments and pledging certain tax increment revenues to the payment of the agreement. Discussion.
How many dentists are going to be in there? The latest I heard was 10, and I said no.
No.
Yeah, I've been in the building and seen the layout of the offices. If you put 10 dentists in there, you wouldn't be able to fit anybody else in the building.
That's
probably
what I
including
thought.
the patients.
Maybe 10 workers, 10 employees.
I believe he intends to have a couple of dentists and then around 13 support staff in the building to support the dentists that are in there.
That was my understanding to begin with, but then somebody said, oh, God, they're going to have 10 dentists up there.
And I know I asked this Tuesday, but for the benefit of the ones here tonight, this will be the first building that's fully ADA compliant?
Yeah, this will be the first one that's been done that's meeting the current building code standards. They've put in an elevator and they've put in new stairs so that they have the required number of exits, redone the floors in the building to make sure that they meet slope, ADA compliant restrooms in the facility. For those of you that were familiar with it from Irwin's, once they're able to take everything down and you can walk inside, you won't recognize the interior. It's a pretty dramatic transformation.
A big investment in the downtown building.
Yeah, And as Councilman Draper is well aware, one of the reasons the city steps in cases like this is because of the cost of historic preservation. It's extremely expensive to do a historic building and do it right, and that increases costs over and above what you would do if you'd be doing it on just starting over with a new building, and so the city seeks to help cover that.
I know the walkthrough last year, it was in pretty poor shape once they got all the walls and everything down.
Yeah, there were some surprises.
Get a chance, speak in there. It's pretty amazing what they've done.
What's the minimum assessment under the agreement, Lon?
1.2 million.
Just wanted to make that clear.
Yeah, this is a self-contained project. The taxes that will be being paid off of this project are going to finance the rebates. The Medco Holding Company is a party to the agreement because they're going to be using those rebates to help provide an economic development incentive up front for the cost of the building. So it's a little unusual that it's kind of it's a three-party agreement, but we have done this in the past with other ones.
Okay, other discussion? All those in favor of resolution number 25848, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Motion passes.
Well, I'm done.
Another public hearing. This is the night for public hearings. This is a public hearing regarding the proposed development agreement with Emerson Mattress, Inc. Public hearing is now open. Anything on this? Or?
Yeah, this is the new Lebeda store that's been constructed along 7th Avenue. Normally that's not something that the city would be involved in with just a typical rented retail space, but in this case that lot was one of the most heavily contaminated brownfield lots along the entire central corridor, so they incurred a lot of additional expenses that they wouldn't have if they'd gone to a greenfield. Part of the criteria underneath our tax increment financing policy is to make sure that we keep the central core and the uptown area competitive with other areas in the community. With places like Tower Terrace Road coming online, we just don't want this historic corridor to turn into a ghost town because it's cheaper to go out there and start over with land that doesn't have any of those issues.
So the city's, what the city gets out of this is the revitalization of an important area of our town. Encourage the recycling of this contaminated property into a higher and better use and a productive use, and avoided somebody going to a green field and taking up a cornfield to build a new building.
Yeah, there are several lots along 7th Avenue that have been sitting vacant for a decade or more, and one of the primary reasons for that is because of how expensive it is to do anything on them with the brownfield costs associated with it. Just to give you an example, in this case, in a typical commercial building, you might be able to use PVC pipe for your sanitary sewer or, plastic for your water lines. In this case, he had to use metal pipe, and it has to be gasketed to resist any potential chemical incursions. There's a huge difference in cost when you have to do those types of things. So it's mainly wanting to make sure that this area stays competitive with other areas in the community. That's the public purpose behind it.
Okay, thanks for that. Any other discussion? Or, I'm sorry, we need anyone who's here to speak in favor of this development agreement. Anyone? Seeing none, is there anyone here to speak against the development agreement? Okay, the public hearing is now closed.
Your Honor, I would move to approve Resolution 25849, approving a development agreement with Emerson Mattress, Inc., authorizing annual appropriation tax increment payments and pledging certain tax increment revenues for the payment of that agreement.
Second.
Okay, so it has been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 25849, approving the development agreement with Emerson Mattress. Discussion. None? All those in favor of resolution number 25849, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Motion passes. Next public hearing is regarding a proposed development agreement with Arnold Property Group, LLC, doing business as Game On. The public hearing is open.
This is the building that housed the former Bill's Tap. Mr. Arnold acquired the entire building, and what the city is helping with here is the cost of putting a fire sprinkler system into that facility as a public safety improvement.
Okay. Anyone here to speak in favor of the development agreement with Arnold Property Group? Anyone here to speak against the development agreement with Arnold Property Group? Arnold Development? Yep. Okay, the public hearing is now closed.
That was your last one, Mayor. I just want to let you know.
Your Honor, I move to approve resolution number 25850, approving a development agreement with Arnold Property Group, LLC, doing business as Game On, authorizing annual appropriations tax increment payments and pledging certain tax increment revenues to the payment of the agreement.
Second.
It has been moved by Councilwoman Etzel, seconded by Councilman Brandt, to approve resolution number 25850, approving the development agreement with Arnold Property Group, LLC, DBA Game On. Discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed, please say no. Motion passes. Mr. Spades?
Yes, Your Honor. I am proud to be able to read this one. This is Resolution 25851, expressing support for the Marion Public Library project and directing staff to proceed with retaining legal and financial counsel regarding financing for the Marion Public Library.
Second?
It has been moved and seconded to approve a resolution number 25851, expressing support for the Marion Public Library project and directing staff to proceed with retaining legal and financial counsel regarding financing for the Marion Public Library. Discussion.
Now, this is where I have a question. Obviously, there's going to be contracts written up and all this, but what I would like to avoid is having any repayment by the city of Marion because of lack of funds from rental and commercial property, that the city should not be involved with this at all.
Yeah, I would anticipate that when we get our legal counsel, one of the things that they will be doing is making sure that these agreements protect the city against exactly those types of things. As an example, the one that we just approved with AIS Properties, they have a minimum assessment agreement in there to guarantee that there's the property tax revenue that is needed to make sure that those payments can be made. I would expect there'd be similar mechanisms in these to make sure that the city is shielded.
So that in the event that the rents of the commercial and rental residential parts, what would happen?
Well,
do they default or what?
No, those are not part of what would be done, or those are not tied into the financing of the library section of the project. So even if those were to go into default for some reason or another, the Library Foundation would still own the library piece of the building. So, you might see an ownership change or something like that on one of the other components of it, but that would be just like us being a member of a condo association. Those places will change hands. People can get new neighbors all the time. The Library Foundation would be in that same type of an arrangement.
Well, now, with the incursion of the residential portion, will the city have anything to say insofar as like rental agreements and things like that, so that it doesn't turn into a low-income residence? I guess that's what I'm worried about.
The part of the financing for the project, workforce housing tax credits have been awarded to the project, and those come with stipulations from the state for the period of the life of the tax credits for what the rents have to be used for. That is not targeted towards low income. It's targeted toward middle income and workforce housing, so the thresholds are higher.
Okay, thank you.
Lon, there was a question asked earlier about vote on the matter. I wonder. I know you've addressed it several times, but I wonder if you.
Yeah, and this is where things get a little bit confusing because I think it's a spot where sometimes people's desires on things run afoul of what cities are actually allowed to do. We cannot, under any circumstances, put a question on the ballot about whether or not the city should expand the library or build a new library. The only thing that we can put on the ballot is related to financing for the library. So if we were proposing to go out and directly borrow $5 million to build a new library or buy the new library, that would be subject to either a referendum or a reverse referendum. In this case, where the city is not proposing to be the direct borrower, there is no pretext to put it on the ballot. We've even been told by Lynn County that even if we wanted to put an advisory referendum out there, they will not do that on our behalf because it's not a valid election question. So at that point, what you're doing is spending $25,000 to conduct a public opinion poll. Could you manipulate the financing to say that the city was going to borrow some money to put into the project? Yes, you could. If there's no financial benefit to the bottom line, why would you do that? In addition, it would actually cost more money for the overall financing because by splitting the financing between the city and the foundation, you're doubling up on your issuance costs for legal and financial advisors to do the issuances. So you're costing more money, which leaves less to go to the building. So there are still opportunities there for public input on this because things like the lease and things like any development agreement with Ryan companies are all subject to public hearings. So there will be opportunities for the public to have their say related to that. When we've talked about the financing for it in the past, as I've said, there is a way that you could manipulate the financing to put it out there for a vote. But if that's not how you actually intend to finance the project, as a citizen, I think I would probably object more to doing a vote on a building, and if it passes, then that's not what you actually do. I would find that more offensive than the alternative. So I know that there are definitely folks out there who want to see the library be subject to public vote, but what they want almost exclusively is for an up or down vote on whether we should do the library project or not, and that simply just isn't allowed under Iowa law.
Okay.
Your Honor, to me, it's kind of a step program. This started a couple of years ago, and the library board itself has gone through a lot of steps in determining whether or not it was feasible to build onto the current building and retain it and go forward from there. We've gone through other steps as we've gone along, and to me, this is furthering those steps, and we are asking basically the staff to check on retaining legal financing, which they could find out of line completely. Ryan and company could find that it's not feasible to build the building, but I think this is something that we need to do to allow to move to the next step of the thing again, which will come to this board. So I'm looking in favor of it, and I just want to make that statement.
Other discussion, questions?
I'd like to go along with what Paul said too, Your Honor. I think there's a misconception, and I think it might do from the article in the Gazette, that we're voting tonight to approve the financing. We're not voting to approve financing the project tonight. It's to look into financing the project, basically. Hope everybody understands that.
Everything that all the research that we've done on it would show that this financing should work, but we're at the point where we're beyond the capabilities of the internal staff to start actually drafting documents, doing the mechanism, putting it together, putting the calendar together, saying these are the steps that you need to go through to be able to make it. We just need some outside help to do that.
Other questions? Everyone clear on it? Okay. I will be recusing myself from this vote, not because of any direct conflict, but just out of an abundance of caution to avoid any appearance of any potential conflict. We'll vote on the matter now. All those in favor of resolution number 25851, expressing support for the Marion Public Library project and directing staff to proceed with retaining legal and financial counsel regarding financing for the Marion Public Library, please signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed, please say no. And please note that I have abstained from discussion and voting. Thank you. The motion passes. Mr. Brandt.
Your Honor, I make a motion to approve a 3 p.m. early start time to City Council work session on March 7 of 2017 to discuss the proposed capital improvement program.
Second. It has been moved and seconded to approve a 3 p.m. start time for the City Council work session on March 7th, 2017 to discuss the proposed capital improvement program. Discussion?
So just to clarify, so we're going to have individual staff meeting to go over the individual projects, and then we'll come in early to discuss as a council the projects. Okay.
Yeah, there are so many projects on the potential list, and we really need to get feedback from the council members on which ones are your priority projects, that we didn't think we could accomplish that even with having an extra hour. So if we can get some ideas from the council on which ones would be your priority projects, we can actually start putting them in priority order and then have the discussion on the overall CIP with some of that pre-work already done. So that's what we want to try to do.
But the individual meetings, we need to have what we would like to see worked on.
Yep, and it'll be an opportunity for you to ask questions from staff about, well, what does this project mean? When would it be need to be happen? I mean, it's as you saw on Tuesday, it's a long list.
I thank Leanne for all the work she's done on doing this. So that was quite a task.
Now, I understand that there is a sign-up sheet for who's going to come in at what time, correct? I didn't get that. So,
Okay.
Will Tracy be here tomorrow, and I'll stop in and...
Tracy
Okay.
or Amanda?
I think it was 2 o'clock, 4 o'clock Monday.
I'm sorry?
2 o'clock, 4 o'clock Monday.
2 or 4 on Monday. Or
There was a
I'll
Tuesday
check
one.
my
Yeah, you
busy
can-
schedule.
Check with them.
As long as it's before noon, I don't care. Not before noon.
Okay, any further discussion on this? All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Motion passes. Mr. Nicholson?
Your Honor, I'd like to recommend approval of resolution number 25852, concurring with and approving the recommendation from the Local Option Sales Tax Loss Oversight Committee.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 25852, concurring with and approving the recommendation of the Local Option Sales Tax Oversight Committee. Okay. Do you want to just brief that just for the benefit of the...
Yeah, the local option sales tax spending plan had pieces of funding in it over a number of years related to the development of Tower Terrace Road, including land acquisition. We have an opportunity to look at the acquisition of a piece to help support that overall project, but it's coming up now. This is funding from a couple of years from now. The lost fund balance would allow us to do that earlier, so we will be setting up a meeting with the property owner to further explore that, but the lost committee felt that that was an appropriate use of local option sales tax dollars. We're bringing a programmed expenditure a couple of fiscal years forward.
Okay, everyone clear on that? Discussion? All those in favor of resolution number 25852, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Motion passes.
Your Honor, I make this motion for mayoral reappointments. Sharon Mettler for the Civil Service Board, term expiring 4/1 of 2021.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to appoint Sharon Mettler to the Civil Service Board. I'm sorry, reappoint her to the Civil Service Board. Discussion?
Have you talked with her?
I have not. On the reappointments, when they come with the
that's right,
recommendation of the
reappointment,
department, I
right.
haven't. But new applicants for boards and commissions, I do meet with them.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right, she's already on the board.
She served on the commission for a long time, and prior to that was a city employee who was the secretary for the commission during the years I was on it. And to me, she's a very valuable member because that is a commission that requires somebody that knows what's happened in the past and working on the future, so I'd highly recommend her.
Thank you. And, okay. All those in favor of the reappointment of Sharon Mettler signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Okay. It is approved. Council discussion time. Would you like to start?
Yes, I would love to. I would like to commend Nancy Grindle on the article she did about Harvey Solberger, who is a former Marion resident who he left today for France to kind of oversee a festival that's going on. Harvey was a flute player and went through, oh my gosh, he's been around a lot. He was the composer in residence for Red Cedar for a while, and he's recorded and composed, and I'm very proud to know him. I'm very proud to have him as a friend. It just, wow, I know Harvey Solberger. So anyway, that's one thing. Secondly, I received a letter, as did Kim and Paul, from Laura Farmer. And I would like to read a portion of this to have it received and filed because I think it's very a good, well, if that's all right. Okay? I will forego the greeting on this. The first item that she covers is the size of the proposed library. According to studies conducted in 2014 for the Marion Public Library charrette and public discussions, the recommended footprint for the Marion Library is at least 60,000 square feet, with room to easily expand to continue to meet the needs of our growing community. The current proposal allots just 45,000 square feet for the library with no clear path for the expansion. The main priority of the library building should be the library. The current project does not satisfy the basic needs of our growing community and library. And the other item that I will read to you is the impact of the City of Marion's economy. More information would be appreciated regarding the fact that the city will not own the building or the land, an odd situation to put us in, considering the city owns both the current library and nearly every parcel on the block to the east of the current library, making these locations much more prudent choices for construction. While the city hopes to sell the current library to a new partner and invest this money in the new library, a sale seems unlikely given the large size of the building and the poor condition of the HVAC, the air conditioning system. Moving forward, I would encourage all parties involved to take a step back and re-examine priorities. Creating the best possible library for our community must be our main focus in this endeavor, not commercial or residential development. It is a library, a welcoming space for all citizens to learn, grow, create, and develop that we truly need. Because libraries are, by their nature, a welcoming place for all citizens, the process of investing in our library should be something that brings us together in celebration. I'm hopeful we can come to that point soon as a community, and I would like to receive and file this, please. And if you would pass that down to Beth, I would appreciate it. In fact, I move to receive and file.
Second.
Thank you.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to receive and file Laura Farmer's letter. Discussion? All those in favor of receiving and filing the letter signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no.
And I have one other item. The mayor and I will be at the library on Saturday morning. So if you have complaints or criticisms or cheers and jeers and all that, stop by.
Next.
I guess the thing I'd like to congratulate the Marion Indian girls for making it to state. That was exciting for our community here. So that's, fun times for them. So, okay.
I also was going to congratulate the Marion Indian girls basketball team for making it as a state qualifier. They play Wednesday at 10 a.m., and I think it was Boone that they play. Looking forward to going to Des Moines to watch that. And then once they win that game, they'll play Friday at 11:45. And then once they win that game, championship is going to be Saturday night at 6 o'clock. So
Go
we'll make a few
Indians.
trips to Des Moines this next
go.
week. My oldest daughter is varsity cheerleader for Marion, so go to watch her cheer. And, of course, watch the girls win. So.
Well, as I mentioned at the last meeting, a week or so from a week and a couple of days from now will be the best steak you've ever eaten, cooked by the Marion Fire Department. So on the 4th of March at the VFW here in Marion, go and what's that?
Going to be in Des Moines watching the girls win
Oh,
the game.
sorry. But you will definitely not be you will definitely be pleased that you've been there. It's $15 a plate, and the proceeds go to help out the Marion Fire Department to purchase equipment and et cetera. And when we had a whole room full of your folks here, we should have announced it because I bet every one of them had tickets in their pocket. But any fireman in Marion, and I guarantee you they'll have a ticket for you. But you won't having been to them for probably 10 years. It made me the man I am. That's all your fault. And then also the library. I think that the plan that you guys have come up with and girls have come up with, I think this is the best plan that you can have come to us with. The one that was where you were building next door, there was a lot of things that were contentious about that. But I think this plan, especially when Ryan stepped up and said that they would be a partner with it, and then the library commission will accept the financing. I think that has taken the burden off of the city that we saw when we had to do it over here on our own, basically. Anyway, I think that this plan is a viable plan, and I appreciate all the hard work that all of you have done and in coming up with this idea. One thing I did have, somebody asked me about ADA compliancy with the entrance being so far off of the street, and they said maybe make some consideration for a pull-in for a vehicle in that so that you could let someone off over there. So that was something somebody had asked me about. But thank you all for all the work that you've done. And Sue, you thought you were off all this, and look what you got back into.
Oh, yes, your mayor. You'd be disappointed if I didn't say something.
You're going to educate us.
I'd like to say, first of all, that Marion was very well represented at the Cedar Rapids State of the City from their mayor. And thank God you don't sing.
Maybe next year.
I realized during the course of it how many positive things Marion has going on compared to what we heard. So we can be very proud of what's happening. One of the things that happened last week, my sons and my grandson and I, for a number of years, have gone to the Chicago Car Show, to the point where we actually bought a car in there a few years ago. But I have a doctor at the Mayo Clinic that wouldn't let me go this year, but the kids told me all about it. But I began to wonder, as I often do, about car shows in Cedar Rapids. And I found out that in 1917, on March 7th, Cedar Rapids had a car show, new cars, and according to the book, it said that the only exhibitor from Marion was the dealer John L. Igram, who was an overland dealer. It said Cedar Rapids dealers showed many lines of cars now almost forgotten in a lapse of years. Some of them were a Peerless, a Mormon, a Chambers, a Chandler, a Hudson, Studebaker, Packard wasn't there yet, Sexton, Cole, Moline, Sears, Knight, Page, Kessel, a Mormon, and a Maxwell. And one that I would add to that is, if any of you remember Archie Bunker and the song they sang, Gee, the Old LaSalle ran great. So it's kind of, being a car person, it's kind of a fun thing for me. My grandson's in the used car business, and I'm continually asking him when he goes to auctions if they had a Studebaker. And he's always saying no, and I said, well, it can't be much of an auction if they don't have a Studebaker. But figure out that occurred on March 7th of 17, and on April 2nd, our president, Wilson, went to the Congress of the United States to ask for a war declaration starting the First War, our entry into the First World War. So, then, Mayor, I have one other item. In 1902, and this is something I want you to all research. In 1902, Marion, Iowa, for the size of our city, was voted the healthiest city in the nation. 1902. I want you to all come back and tell me who voted us that. Thank you, Mayor.
Wow. We were a Blue Zones community long before Blue Zones ever existed.
I think it was
the
light
original
blue,
Blue Zones committee.
Light Blue Zone Committee then. 1902. Well, Slug might remember. I don't know.
Well, thank you for that. For my part, I would like to echo what Councilman Draper said. We have so much to be happy about. We have a lot of great things going on in Marion. Sometimes it's easy to get lost in the issues that come up and to get distracted. But at the bottom line is that many cities would love to have our problems and our issues. And I know I sound like a broken record because I always say that, but it's so true. And we have so much to be proud of. We have so much to be grateful for. And the one thing that I appreciate that has been, I've seen happen more and more recently is, and I've been making recognitions for reaching higher. I would just like to recognize all the citizens of Marion for reaching higher. I think people are genuinely excited about what's going on in Marion, about the direction that Marion's going in. Yes, we have issues. Yes, we have things we need to deal with. But I see people dealing with those issues in a respectful manner, in a way that recognizes we're all friends and neighbors and we're going to see each other at Hy-Vee. And I want to be able to say hello to everyone and greet everyone and not feel like people are mad at each other. I encourage everyone to continue to give each other the benefit of the doubt and to see the best in everyone, because ultimately, we have to live together in this city and continue to build it to be what we want it to be. At the national level, politics has been a little bit crazy, and even at the state level, and it doesn't have to be that way here at the local level. I think I call it the sports mentality has kind of crept into our lives, and there seems to be this need that we have to have two teams, and one side has to win everything and the other side has to lose, and it doesn't have to be that way on the local level. I think there's still a lot of room for compromise and for finding common ground and finding the things that bring us together and working together for the greater good of our city. Ultimately, I think that's the only way we can move forward. And I do appreciate the level of respect and professionalism that I see taking place in terms of how we deal with our differences. And I just hope that continues. So thank you very much.
Your Honor, I do have one thing. Joe, we don't have a VFW.
Oh, that's right. What?
I don't know where you're going to have your steak, but I'm going to go to the Legion.
Legion. Yes. I said that, and I thought, wait, that isn't what that is. I'm showing my age.
Thank you, everyone, for being here. Meeting is adjourned.
Well, I got time.
I see.
Time for one.
Well, I just had to get famous last words.
Maybe two. I know. Well, I went out before. I know it. Healthiest city in the world. I was glad to meet you there.
Well,
Healthiest city in the nation. It wasn't Chiefs for a straight. That was a national vote.
good article.
Yes.
Well,
I'm Robert. It is. I might mention that when I give the answer.
really?
Yes. That is my son.
Oh, my goodness. He never mentioned
I know. He said, but Mom, your mom. Yes. That's your name. And I said, yes. I didn't know that. I work at the city. I work there. I mean, my wages
and tell him he
paid for his college.
he's out of the will.
Yeah, no kidding. Like there's anything
Found
there.
that out
Big weekend.
Oh, really? That's awesome.
my.
So yeah, he grew up in our library. I mean, that's why I read he started at the beginning of the nonfiction section and read every book. He's a brilliant boy. Yep. I didn't know if you knew that.
I did not know that.
Graduated from Marion 2007.
in there.
That's my son.
So is Michael.
Yeah.
He's not one of my former students.
No.
Wow.
That's 28.
Wow.
I just wanted to tell you, it's a miracle.
Well, I had to get that in about Harvey because
Girls State basketball. No wonder we're getting snow.
Yeah, that's
Global warning cannot be.